everybody. Happy Tuesday. I hope you're all having a great day. I know it's been pretty busy here, but everybody has been having a wonderful day. It's been a little gray and gloomy. I'm not sure where you are right now, but the hurricane is coming up the coast, and we're ready and expecting some of that rainy weather coming our way. I am here today for the parents. And I realize I'm banging on the table, sorry. All of our really Teacher Tip Tuesday subjects have been for the kids and for their practice and learning some other new things. But today I'm talking to you parents of children who take lessons, and specifically to the non-musical parents. If you're out there, give me a hello, a high five, a wave, a like, whatever you'd like to do. I've got some tips for you today to help your children practice efficiently, effectively, and without any drama or tears. So we're going to dive right in. I have 5 tips for you today. The first tip is probably one of the most important tips that I can give you, and that is to communicate clearly with your child's teacher. Let them know the extent of your musical knowledge. If you have even just a little bit, let them know that, because they can help build on that for you. But also let them know if you really know nothing and you have to be told everything the same way that your children are being taught. And that will help them know what to expect from your child's practice, but also what to expect from you, and the communication there, and how to talk, like I'm having a hard time doing right now, apparently. Number 2 is to make sure that you read everything, and I mean everything, that the teacher gives you, whether it's notes in their practice log that they've written down, or notes in the book itself. Also, read everything in the book. A lot of times, any questions that you might have regarding what's happening in the book, what is the child learning, the new concepts, the review concepts, all of that is written out fully in the book, but it's written in a way that children don't understand as clearly as adults. So if you have any questions about what you're supposed to be working on with your child, definitely read everything, because most of the time the answer will be right there in that book or in that practice log for you. Tip number 3 is to create a quiet practice space for your child. So whether you're trying to decide where to put a piano, what room to put it in, or where to set up maybe a little practice nook, definitely choose a quiet room. Don't choose the room that everybody runs through during the course of the day. Set up a specialized space just for making music, just for practicing, so that your child knows that this is a valued and an important space for them to be practicing in. A lot of times we get parents who come in and say, oh, the piano is in the family room, and that's where the TV is, and that's where the dog's bed is, and that's where everybody just kind of hangs out. And that's really great for when you're doing family activities at the piano. But when it comes to practice, make sure that room is totally cleared out, and the only one in that room is that child and you, and that's it. And let them have that space and have that time with their instrument and with you. And I will say that most children under the age of 9 or 10 years old, I would say like 3rd grade, 4th grade, think that age level, they are going to need you to sit down with them and help them practice, because they're not going to have enough base knowledge to get themselves going. Once they get a little older, or even when they get a couple of years experience, even if they're a little younger, as long as they can read and as long as they understand the assignments, they can practice on their own. But the first several years, especially for younger students, they will need your 100% attention with them at their instrument. Practice tip number 4 is to establish a routine. And this is something that I have found over the years, the parents that do establish a good solid practice routine, their kids are the ones who have the most success in lessons. It's just like anything else. They have a routine at school where they go from one class to the next, or they transition from one subject to the next with their teacher. It's the same thing with music lessons. They need a set routine. And I have a couple of ideas from another piano teacher friend. She came up with this really helpful list that I'm just going to read a little part of for you. One is to make sure you practice the same time every day. Now, sometimes we have different schedules every day, but make it so that maybe the 10 to 15 minutes right after dinner every day, that's when you practice, no matter what time you have dinner. Or maybe your kids are better and fresher right after school. And so they come home, they put their stuff down, maybe they get a drink of water, use the bathroom, wash their hands, and then sit down and practice and go through everything. And that's the next thing, is make sure you go through everything every time you practice. That way nothing gets lost, nothing gets stuck. It happens all the time. Kids will come in and they'll have had a whole week of practice, and then we open their practice log and they go, oh my gosh, I didn't do page 59. I completely forgot. And that's because it didn't get set in as part of the routine right from the very first day. The last part of the routine that I would say is have an after lesson routine. So instead of just going home, okay, go put your books at the piano, or go put your books by the chair in the stand and put your instrument away. Instead of doing that, sit down with them for 5 minutes and go over what they learned in the lesson. The brain remembers more within the first 24 hours. It retains more within the first 24 hours of learning. And that really is something you want to capitalize on with your children. So have them read the assignments out loud if they're able to read. If they're not, read it out loud to them and ask them questions. Ask them, what were the tricky parts? What did you get stuck on in the lesson with your teacher? What was an easy part? Can you play that for me right now? Get them involved in the post-lesson review. All right, practice tip number 5 is one that I actually got from a parent today. I originally only had 4 practice tips for you, but I have one more that she just loves doing, and thinking about it as a kid, I loved doing this too. Her daughter loves doing it, and that is to create a variety of performance opportunities for your child at home at your instrument. You could do FaceTime performances for grandparents and aunts and uncles and cousins, and even for friends. You could do FaceTime for your neighbors, or Skype if you're not an Apple person. You could do that as well. Invite friends over. Have them, at play dates, have them perform for their friends instead of just saying, oh yeah, that's our instrument, we don't touch that. We touch that with respect and we treat it like an instrument. It's not a toy. And that lets your child know that you value their lessons and you value their time in their music as well. And you could even set up, this was my personal favorite as a child, I loved putting on performances for my stuffed animals, and they can choose whoever they want. Set them up if you have an upright piano, set them up right on top of the piano so they can look at their audience and get practice acknowledging the audience as well as practice playing. And that does count as practice, getting them involved with performing. So those are our 5 practice tips for the non-musical parents. Let me know in the comments if you apply any of these this week, or even next week or in the future. I'd love to hear from you. And if you have a practice tip as a musical parent for any non-musical parents, please leave that in the comments as well. And we will see you next Tuesday. Have a musical day.